The view from Earth's orbital station was breathtaking. Captain Daniel Wright stood at the large window, watching the stars. It was the year 2312, and humans had spread across the solar system. They had bases on the Moon, Mars, and even some of Jupiter's moons, but they had never gone beyond their own solar system. Today was different. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time. "Captain, they're here," said Lieutenant Susan Miller, walking up beside him. Her voice was tight with excitement. Daniel nodded. "Let's hope they're friendly." The alien ship was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was smooth and seemed to glow with a blue light. It moved without any visible engines and was at least 20 times larger than Earth's biggest ship. "It's so advanced," Susan whispered. "Makes our ships look like toys," Daniel agreed, trying to hide his worry. 6 hours later, Daniel and Susan sat in the meeting room of the United Nations Space Command with Admiral Patricia Jones and other human leaders. Across from them sat the aliens who called themselves Zorlaxians. The Zorlaxian ambassador was tall with blue-gray skin. His eyes had 3 pupils each, and when he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We represent the Galactic Confederation," he said. "We are pleased to welcome humans to the wider community of spacefaring species." Admiral Jones smiled politely. "We are honored to meet you. We have many questions." "Of course you do," the ambassador cut in. "Your species is young. But first, we must discuss important matters." The aliens explained that the galaxy was in the middle of a long war. Another species called the Voidborn was attacking planets and taking their resources. The Confederation was fighting them back. "We can offer Earth protection," the ambassador said. "In return, we need some of your resources and partial control over your defense systems." Admiral Jones frowned slightly. "That's a very serious offer. We would need time to consider it and discuss with all Earth nations." The Zorlaxian's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. "Time is something you may not have. The Voidborn could find your system any day." Daniel couldn't stay quiet any longer. "We have defenses," he said. "Our fleet might not be as advanced as yours, but—" The aliens laughed. It was a strange, bubbling sound that filled the room. "Your ships." One of the Zorlaxians pointed at the display showing Earth's best ships. "These are museum pieces compared to Confederation technology. They would not last 5 minutes against a Voidborn scout, let alone a war fleet." Susan's face flushed with anger, but Admiral Jones gave her a warning look. "Perhaps you could show us what we're up against," Jones said calmly, "so we understand the threat better." The ambassador waved his hand, and a hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed alien ships fighting in space. The weapons tore through shields and hulls like they were paper. "This is a small battle from last year," the ambassador said. "The Voidborn won this one." The room was quiet as the humans watched the destruction. "We will give you 3 Earth days to consider our offer," the ambassador said, standing up. "For your sake, I hope you choose wisely." After the aliens left, Admiral Jones looked at her team. Her face was serious, but her eyes held a secret. "Captain Wright, Lieutenant Miller, stay behind. Everyone else is dismissed." When they were alone, Jones pressed a button that swept the room for listening devices. "What I'm about to tell you is known to only 12 people on Earth," she said. "It's time to activate the Legacy Project." Daniel frowned. "The what?" Jones smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "The aliens think our best ships are in orbit. They're wrong." She pulled up a new display showing the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. "Our real fleet has been hiding there for nearly 100 years, she said. "And it's time to wake it up." Captain Daniel Wright and Lieutenant Susan Miller followed Admiral Jones to a secure room deep under the UNSC headquarters. Inside, a group of high-ranking military officials waited around a large table. "Ladies and gentlemen," Admiral Jones began, "we have 3 days before the Zorlaxians expect our answer. We need to act fast." She pressed a button, and a 3-dimensional map of the solar system appeared above the table. For those who don't know, the Legacy project began in 2218, almost 100 years ago, Jones explained. Our deep space sensors picked up signals from what we now know was the Galactic War. Our leaders back then knew we might someday face first contact with a hostile species. Daniel looked at the map as it zoomed in on the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Instead of putting all our resources into the regular fleet that everyone knows about, we secretly built a second fleet, Jones continued. We hid it among the asteroids, powered down, and disguised as mining operations. Susan leaned forward. A hidden fleet. How many ships? 237 vessels, Jones said. Much more than the 53 ships in our public fleet. An older man with gray hair and a weathered face stood up. Daniel recognized him as Chief Engineer Alan Garcia, one of the most respected ship designers in the solar system. These ships look outdated on purpose, Garcia said. Their outer hulls are rough and bulky, making them appear primitive. But inside, he smiled. Inside, they're unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. He pressed another button, and the image changed to show the interior of one of the ships. We took a different approach from most sci-fi stories, Garcia explained. No fancy energy weapons that could be blocked by shields. Instead, we focused on physical weapons, massive railguns that fire solid projectiles at incredible speeds, weapons that use basic physics, not exotic technology. But wouldn't advanced ships just outrun these slower vessels? Someone asked. That's where the trick comes in, Garcia said. The ships have disguised engines. They look slow and clumsy until they activate their true propulsion systems. Admiral Jones nodded. Our scientists study the alien signals for decades. We believe their technology relies heavily on energy fields and complex computer systems. Our ships are designed to be immune to their usual tactics. Jones turned to Daniel and Susan. I'm sending you both with Commander Olivia Winters to Sarah Station. You'll help activate the first group of ships. Why keep these ships hidden all this time? Daniel asked. Why not use them in our regular fleet? Because surprise might be our only advantage, Jones said simply. The moment we reveal these ships, we lose the element of surprise forever. The next morning, Daniel, Susan, and Commander Winters boarded a supply ship headed for the asteroid belt. Their ship looked like a regular mining transport, nothing special. Commander Winters was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes. She had a reputation as a brilliant tactical mind. Ever been to Ceres before? She asked as they left Earth orbit. Daniel shook his head. No, ma'am. I thought Ceres only had small research stations. Winters smiled. That's what everyone is supposed to think. 3 days later, their ship approached a medium-sized asteroid. It looked empty except for some small buildings on the surface. Welcome to Ceres Command, Winters said. The heart of humanity's real defense system. As they docked, a massive door opened in the asteroid's surface, revealing a huge underground base. Inside was a control center that stretched for kilometers. This is where we'll wake up the fleet, Winters said. The first ship we'll activate is the U.S. Defiance. It's our flagship. On the main screen, they could see a massive ship floating among the asteroids. It looked old and bulky, with a rough outer hull that seemed patched together. That doesn't look very impressive, Susan said doubtfully. That's exactly the point, Winters replied with a smile. The Zorlaxians will think the same thing. Until it's too late. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Clark, the weapons specialist waiting for them at the base, grinned as he looked at the screen. Trust me, he said, you're going to enjoy seeing what these old birds can really do. 3 days after first contact, the Zorlaxian ambassador returned to Earth's orbital station. His face showed no emotion as he met with Admiral Jones and Earth's leaders. Your time to decide has ended, the ambassador said. What is your answer? Admiral Jones stood tall. We thank the Confederation for its offer, but Earth wishes to join as an equal member, not as a protected planet. We want to keep control of our defenses and resources. The room went silent. The ambassador's three pupil eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand your position," he said coldly. "This is not a negotiation. Either accept our protection on our terms, or face the consequences when the Voidborn discover your system." "We need more time to consider," Admiral Jones said calmly. "There is no more time," the ambassador replied. "You have one Earth day to accept our terms, or we will leave your system unprotected. We have wasted enough resources on your primitive species already." Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, Commander Winters and her team worked frantically to activate the Legacy fleet. The U.S. Defiance, a massive battleship, was the first to power up. "Main systems online," reported Susan, looking at the control panel. "Power levels at 60% and rising." Daniel watched as lights began to appear across the ship's hull. Despite its rough appearance, the ship hummed with hidden power. "How long until it's fully operational?" Commander Winters asked. 4 hours, replied Lieutenant Commander Clark. "The ship has been dormant for 15 years. Some systems need time to warm up." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout Sarah Station. "What's happening?" Daniel asked. A technician looked up from her screen. "We're detecting 3 Zorlaxian ships entering the asteroid belt. They appear to be scanning the area." Commander Winters frowned. "They must have detected our power signature when we started activating the Defiance." "The Defiance isn't ready yet," Clark warned. "It will have to be," Winters decided. "Lieutenant Miller, stay here and continue the activation sequence. Captain Wright, you're with me and Clark. We're taking the Defiance out to meet them." Within 30 minutes, Daniel found himself on the bridge of the U.S. Defiance. The ship's interior was nothing like its rough exterior. Inside, advanced systems and clean design showed the true nature of the vessel. "Power at 78%, reported an engineer. "Weapons systems operational, but not at full capacity." "That will have to do," Commander Winters said, taking the captain's chair. "Engage stealth systems and plot an intercept course." Despite its size, the Defiance moved quietly through the asteroid belt. Its hull, designed to look primitive, actually contained special materials that absorbed scanner signals. "Zorlaxian ships are 2 minutes away," Clark reported from the weapons station. "They haven't detected us yet." Commander Winters looked at Daniel. "Captain Wright, take the tactical station. This is about to get interesting." The 3 Zorlaxian scout ships moved slowly through the asteroids, their blue hulls glowing softly. "They're scanning everything," Clark said. "Looking for the source of the energy signature. Hold position behind this large asteroid," Winters ordered. "Let them pass by, then we'll surprise them." The bridge crew waited in tense silence as the alien ships drew closer. Daniel's hands hovered over the tactical controls, his heart pounding. "Now," Winters commanded as the last scout passed their hiding spot. The Defiance surged forward, its engines suddenly revealing their true power. The ship moved with surprising speed and agility for its size. "Target the middle ship," Winters ordered. "Disable only, no destruction." Clark activated the main weapons system. A massive railgun extended from the ship's front section. "Firing," Clark announced. The railgun fired a solid metal projectile at an incredible speed. It slammed into the middle Zorlaxian ship before they could raise their shields. The alien vessel spun out of control, its engines damaged. The other 2 scouts turned quickly, their weapons powering up. They fired energy beams that the Defiance easily dodged. "Return fire," Winters ordered. "Show them what our primitive ship can do." The Defiance fired again, disabling a second scout. The third tried to escape, but smaller railguns tracked it and damaged its propulsion system. Back on the Zorlaxian command ship near Earth, the fleet commander received the distress signal from his scouts. "Impossible," he muttered, staring at the data. "How could a human ship defeat 3 of our scouts?" He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet for battle. These humans are hiding something." As news of the skirmish in the asteroid belt reached Earth, Admiral Jones called an emergency meeting with the United Earth Council. The room was filled with nervous government officials. The Zorlaxians will be demanding answers soon, Admiral Jones said. It's time you all learn about the Legacy Project. She displayed images of the U.S. Defiance and other ships from the Hidden Fleet. These ships look primitive for a reason, she explained. They were designed to be underestimated. An older man with white hair stood up from his seat at the end of the table. This was Dr. Eric Powell, the original architect of the Legacy Project. Though in his 80s now, his mind was still sharp. When we first detected alien signals a century ago, Dr. Powell said, we realized something important. Advanced civilizations tend to follow similar technological paths. They all use energy weapons, force fields, and quantum computers. He walked to the display and brought up diagrams of the Legacy Fleet's weapon systems. We chose a different path. We built our fleet using what we call ancient principles, solid physics that can't be easily countered by exotic technology. What exactly does that mean? Asked one council member. Dr. Powell smiled. It means our ships use massive railguns that fire physical projectiles instead of energy beams. They use thick armor plating instead of energy shields. And they used hardened computer systems that can't be hacked by alien technology. Admiral Jones continued, our regular fleet uses standard technology, similar to what other species develop. We built it knowing it would be outmatched. It was a decoy. The Legacy Fleet also has another advantage, Dr. Powell added. We developed special EMP weapons designed specifically to disable the types of systems used by advanced alien ships. How could you know what alien systems would be like? Another council member asked. We've been listening to their communications for decades, Dr. Powell replied. We decoded enough to understand their technological principles. They rely heavily on quantum field manipulation and exotic matter. These systems are vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic interference that wouldn't affect our more basic technology. Meanwhile, aboard the Zorlaxian command ship, the fleet commander reviewed footage from the scout ship's battle with the Defiance. It makes no sense, he said to his officers. Their ship looks primitive but moves like a warship. And those weapons, simple kinetic projectiles that somehow bypassed our shields. One officer suggested, perhaps they received help from another species. The commander shook his head. No, this technology isn't like anything in the Confederation. It's older, more basic, but somehow more effective against our systems. He made a decision. Prepare the entire fleet. We will show these humans the full might of Zorlaxian technology. Back at Sarah Station, the U.S. Defiance docked after its successful mission. Commander Winters met with Lieutenant Miller, who had stayed behind to continue activating the fleet. How many ships are operational now? Winters asked. 43 so far, Susan replied, including 5 heavy battleships like the Defiance. It's not enough, Daniel said, joining them. The Zorlaxians have hundreds of ships. Quality over quantity, Captain. Commander Winters said with confidence. One of our battleships can handle 10 of theirs. And we're not done yet. Lieutenant Commander Clark walked in, holding a datapad. We've captured some interesting technology from those scout ships. Their quantum communication systems could be useful. Can we integrate it with our ships? Winters asked. Better than that, Clark replied with a grin. We can use it to listen to all their communications. They think their quantum systems are impossible to intercept, but our primitive computers process the data differently. As they talked, more ships in the Legacy Fleet came online. Their old-looking hulls hid powerful engines and devastating weapons. The Zorlaxians will come in force now, Winters said, looking at the tactical display showing the growing fleet. They won't make the mistake of underestimating us again. Actually, Clark said, that's exactly what they'll do. They still think we got lucky. Their entire strategy is based on technology we specifically designed to counter. Commander Winters smiled. Then let's get ready to teach them a lesson about ancient human ingenuity. On Earth, Admiral Jones finished her presentation to the Council. The Zorlaxians gave us an ultimatum. They expect us to surrender. Instead, we're going to show them why humans should never be underestimated. The Zorlaxian fleet moved toward Earth with confidence. 30 advanced warships, their blue hulls gleaming in the sunlight, formed a perfect attack formation. Each ship was armed with energy weapons powerful enough to destroy a city. On the bridge of his command ship, the Zorlaxian fleet commander addressed his captains through the holographic communication system. "The humans have some hidden technology, but they are still primitive," he said. "Our scans show only a few operational ships in their asteroid belt. We will crush them quickly and force Earth to accept our terms." Little did he know that the Legacy fleet had been carefully hiding their numbers. While the Zorlaxians detected only a handful of ships, over 100 vessels were now activated and waiting. Aboard the U.S. Resolute, the largest ship in the Legacy fleet, Commander Winters sat in the captain's chair. Captain Wright and Lieutenant Miller stood at their stations nearby. "All ships report ready," Susan said, looking at her display. 120 vessels in position. Daniel checked the tactical screen. "The Zorlaxians have entered Mars orbit. They'll be in range in 20 minutes. Commander Winters nodded. "Send the signal to Admiral Jones. It's time to show our hand." On Earth, Admiral Jones stood in the UNSC command center, watching the approaching alien fleet. The Zorlaxian ambassador was beside her, his expression smug. "Your primitive defenses are no match for our fleet," he said. "This is your last chance to surrender peacefully." Jones checked her watch, then smiled. "I think you'll find we're not as primitive as you believe." She pressed a button on her console. "Commander Winters, you have permission to engage." Throughout the solar system, the Legacy fleet came to life. Ships hidden behind moons, inside asteroid clusters, and disguised as space debris suddenly activated their engines. The Zorlaxians watched in shock as their sensors detected not a few ships, but over 100 vessels converging on their position. "Impossible," the Zorlaxian commander exclaimed. "Where did they all come from?" The Legacy fleet's ships looked strange compared to the sleek Zorlaxian vessels. They were bulky, with rough hulls and visible weapon systems. They looked like they belonged in a museum, just as the aliens had said. But as they moved into attack formation, their true capabilities became clear. Despite their appearance, they moved with surprising speed and precision. "All ships, prepare to fire on my mark," Commander Winters ordered. "Remember your training. Their shields can't stop our kinetic weapons if we hit them with enough force." The Zorlaxian fleet fired first. Brilliant beams of energy shot across space toward the human ships. "Evasive maneuvers," Winters commanded calmly. The Legacy fleet scattered, moving in unpredictable patterns. Some ships were hit, but their thick armor absorbed much of the energy. Unlike the Zorlaxian shields, which were designed to stop energy weapons, the human ships relied on physical armor reinforced with electromagnetic fields. "Our turn," Winters said. "All ships, fire main railguns." Across the human fleet, massive railguns extended from their hulls. They fired solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The simple weapons were devastating against the Zorlaxian shields, which were designed to stop energy, not physical objects. 6 Zorlaxian ships were crippled in the first volley. Their shields flickered and failed as the kinetic projectiles tore through them. "Continue firing," Winters ordered. "Target their engine sections." The battle raged for over an hour. The Zorlaxians tried to adapt, adjusting their shields to stop the physical projectiles, but the humans simply switched tactics, using electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable their systems before firing railguns again. On his command ship, the Zorlaxian commander watched in disbelief as ship after ship reported critical damage. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships, fall back beyond the orbit of Mars." As the alien fleet retreated, cheers erupted across the human ships. "We did it," Susan said, hardly believing it. "We actually beat them." But Commander Winters remained serious. This was just the first battle. They'll be back with a larger force once they report what happened. Daniel looked at the tactical display, showing the retreating Zorlaxian ships. At least they won't be laughing at our museum pieces anymore. Throughout the Galactic Confederation, news of the human victory spread quickly. For the first time in centuries, someone had defeated a Zorlaxian fleet in direct combat. And they had done it with technology the Zorlaxians had mocked as primitive. Other species in the Confederation began to take notice of the newcomers from Earth. Perhaps these humans had something to teach the galaxy after all. 2 days after the battle, Earth celebrated its victory. People gathered in cities across the planet, watching videos of the Legacy fleet defeating the alien ships. For the first time, humans felt they could stand equal with other species in the galaxy. At UNSC headquarters, Admiral Jones was in a meeting with her officers when an urgent message arrived. The long-range sensors at the edge of the solar system had detected something massive approaching. How big? Jones asked the communications officer. Much bigger than the Zorlaxian fleet, the officer replied. At least 3 times as many ships. Daniel and Susan, who had returned to Earth for debriefing, exchanged worried looks. Is it more Zorlaxians? Daniel asked. No, the officer said. The energy signatures are different. Based on the information from the Confederation database we captured, these are void-born ships. A heavy silence fell over the room. Even with their victory against the Zorlaxians, facing the main enemy of the galaxy was a different challenge. How long until they reach Earth? Jones asked. 3 days at their current speed. Before Jones could respond, another officer entered the room. Admiral, the Zorlaxian ambassador is requesting to speak with you. He says it's urgent. To everyone's surprise, the ambassador looked different when he arrived. His usual arrogance was gone. Instead, he seemed almost nervous. Admiral Jones, he said, his voice less commanding than before. Our long-range sensors have detected a void-born fleet heading toward your system. We know, Jones replied. Our sensors detected them too. The ambassador looked surprised. Your technology continues to impress us, but you must understand what this means. The void-born must have detected our battle. They're coming to investigate this new potential threat. And what do you suggest? Jones asked. The ambassador hesitated. I have been authorized to offer a true alliance, not the protection agreement we proposed before, but a genuine partnership. Your fleet has abilities that would greatly help the Confederation in our war. Admiral Jones studied the alien's face. Why should we trust you now? You looked down on us from the moment you arrived. Because we cannot defeat the Voidborn alone, the ambassador admitted. And neither can you. After the ambassador left, Jones called an emergency meeting with the captains of the Legacy fleet, who joined via holographic projection from their ships. The Zorlaxians want an alliance, she told them. This time as equals. Can we trust them? Commander Winters asked from the U.S. Resolute. Not entirely, Jones admitted, but we need allies against the Voidborn. And our victory has earned us respect from other species in the Confederation. Indeed, messages had been arriving from other alien races impressed by humanity's stand against the Zorlaxians. Several had offered their own ships to help defend Earth. We need to combine our strengths, Chief Engineer Garcia suggested. Our physical weapons with their advanced systems. Lieutenant Commander Clark nodded in agreement. I've been studying their technology from the captured scout ships. We could integrate some of their systems with ours, creating something neither of us has alone. Over the next 2 days, ships from 5 different alien species arrived to help defend Earth. Most were not Zorlaxians, but other members of the Confederation who had lived under Zorlaxian dominance for centuries. We watched your battle with great interest, said the captain of an Andari vessel, a tall being with silvery skin. For too long, the Zorlaxians have claimed their way is best. You've shown there are other paths to power. Commander Winters worked with the alien tactical officers to develop a combined defense strategy. Meanwhile, Clark and Garcia worked with alien engineers to quickly upgrade the Legacy fleet with compatible technology. The Voidborn fleet will arrive tomorrow, Daniel reported during the final planning session. Over 90 ships, each larger than anything we've seen so far. Susan looked at the tactical display showing their combined forces, human ships alongside alien vessels of various designs. "Even with our new allies, we're still outnumbered," she said. Commander Winters studied the display, then pointed to Jupiter. "We don't need to outnumber them if we're smarter. I have a plan." As the massive void-born fleet approached the solar system, humanity prepared for its greatest battle yet. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The massive gas giant Jupiter loomed large on the viewscreen of the U.S. Resolute. Commander Winters had positioned the combined human-alien fleet in the planet's strong radiation belts, where the energy would mask their presence from the approaching voidborn. "Final system check," Winters ordered. "All ships confirm readiness." One by one, the vessels of the unusual alliance reported in. Human ships with their bulky, practical designs floated alongside the sleek alien craft. In just 2 days, the engineers had managed to combine their technologies in ways neither side had imagined before. "The voidborn fleet has passed Mars orbit," Susan reported from her station. "They'll be in range of Jupiter in 30 minutes. Daniel stood beside Commander Winters, watching the tactical display. "Do you think this will work?" "It has to," she replied simply. The plan was bold. Rather than face the overwhelming voidborn fleet head-on, they would spring an ambush. Half the human ships had been fitted with enhanced Zorlaxian cloaking technology, while the alien vessels carried simplified versions of the human railguns. "All ships, move into position," Winters commanded. "Remember, we must time this perfectly." The voidborn fleet was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Black ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, moving in perfect formation. Their hulls were covered with strange growths that looked almost alive. "They're scanning the system," an alien officer reported. "But the radiation is confusing their sensors." "Hold position," Winters ordered. "Wait for them to commit." The tension on the bridge was thick as the massive enemy fleet approached Jupiter. They seemed to hesitate, sensing something wasn't right. "Now," Winters shouted. "All ships, attack pattern Alpha." The combined fleet burst from their hiding places in Jupiter's radiation belts. The human railguns fired first, sending thousands of kinetic projectiles toward the surprised voidborn ships. At the same time, the alien vessels unleashed energy weapons that had been modified based on human suggestions to penetrate the voidborn defenses. The voidborn recovered quickly, returning fire with strange purple beams that seemed to distort space itself. Several human and alien ships were hit, their hulls cracking under the assault. "Continue pressing the attack," Winters ordered. "Don't give them time to regroup." The battle raged for hours around Jupiter. Ships from both sides were damaged or destroyed. The U.S. Defiance, with Lieutenant Commander Clark at tactical, managed to disable 3 voidborn vessels before taking heavy damage itself. Despite the initial success of the ambush, the sheer number of voidborn ships began to tell. The combined fleet was being pushed back, forced to retreat toward Jupiter's moons. "We need to take out their command ship," Daniel suggested, pointing to a massive vessel at the center of the voidborn formation. Winters nodded. "Agreed. But how do we get to it?" "I have an idea," Susan said, "but it's crazy." Her plan was indeed desperate. The U.S. Resolute, along with 3 alien ships, would dive straight into the heart of the voidborn fleet. While the alien vessels provided cover with their advanced shields, the Resolute would get close enough to the command ship to deploy a special weapon Clark had developed, a combination of human EMP technology and alien quantum disruption fields. "It's a one-way trip," Daniel said quietly. "Maybe not," Winters replied. "If we time it right, we might just make it back." Admiral Jones, watching from Earth, gave her approval. "Go with all speed, Commander. The future of Earth depends on you." The 4 ships accelerated toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Voidborn vessels converged on them, firing continuously. One alien ship was destroyed, then another. The third lost power but continued to drift forward, its crew sacrificing themselves to absorb fire meant for the Resolute. "We're in range," Susan shouted as the Resolute shuddered under the assault. "Deploy the weapon," Winters ordered calmly, despite the chaos around them. The combined human-alien device launched toward the Voidborn command ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a wave of energy expanded outward, disrupting the strange technology of the Voidborn vessels. Their ships began to drift, weapons systems failing. "Get us out of here," Winters commanded. The Resolute turned, its engines straining as it fled the disabled Voidborn ships. Behind them, the enemy fleet was in disarray. 3 days later, in the UNSC headquarters on Earth, the Zorlaxian ambassador stood before the United Earth Council. "Today, the Confederation formally recognizes Earth as a full and equal member," he announced. "Your ancient fleet and the humans who built it have earned our deepest respect."